Right, I thought I'd just say a few words about this new grip that I've put on my my Priest 2. I wasn't massively impressed with the supply grip. It was okay, but I found I don't know, I just couldn't get a really nice, comfortable position with it on the trigger. I found it a little bit, I don't know, it just didn't fit my hand very well at all, really. And it wasn't helping with my trigger position. I found that my trigger finger was more inclined to be sort of sat in the crook of my finger here instead of on the actual pad where it should be. It came to rest in a more natural position here, and that tended to make me sort of slide my finger down the trigger a bit to get it more on the pad, and ended up dragging the very bottom of the trigger, which isn't really ideal. So originally I tried to get a Hogue grip, but that meant sending off to the States, and with the current state of affairs, I wasn't sure how long the delivery would be on one of those. So I ended up getting one of these, and it's a rather nice laminated wood grip. Now, it's made for the FX Impact, really, rather than the Priest. So it's not a perfect fit, because as you can see, the Priest one's a lot longer, and also inside the Priest one, I don't know if you can see it very clearly, but the inside actually slopes at sort of 45 degrees. There's an angled piece in there that slopes at 45 degrees. You see that? It's not a flat bottom here, it slopes up like that. And the mounting on the rifle, the alloy, slopes across as well, and the screw goes in at an angle like that. Anyway, with a bit of faffing about, a little bit of drilling and a little bit of sanding, I managed to get it to fit, and I think it looks really good. It's not absolutely perfect, it doesn't sit at a perfect 90-degree angle flush on, but you can't really tell, and it looks really good. And the other thing you need to make sure if you do change these grips is where the safety catch is, there's a small ball bearing and a little tiny spring, and the actual original stock piece, you can see there where the spring indents on it, so that actually holds it all in place. So when you take that off, the spring and the ball bearing will fall out if you're not careful, and you have to make sure that your whatever you replace it with sits here flush with the metalwork to hold the ball bearing and pin. And that was another thing, that's why it's at a very slight angle. But even so, even though it's not the most, it's not a perfect fit, I have had to amend and alter that pistol grip a fair bit to get it to fit. And there's always that worry as well that you're going to crack it or break it or whatever. And they're not cheap, but I thought, sod it, I'm going to give it a go and see if I can get it to fit. And the end results are great, and it's done what I wanted it to do, because now my trigger finger placement is perfect. The trigger sits, I put my hand on the pistol grip, and the trigger comes to rest perfectly on the pad of my finger. So not only does it look good, but it also fulfills the function that I wanted it to. It's brought my trigger finger straight away to a natural position. So I'm really, really happy with that, actually. And I also like the fact that it's quite a dark wood laminate, because it's a dark, tactical looking rifle rather than a traditional style sort of rifle. I didn't want a sort of fancy walnut grip or I don't know, whatever, but I think that darker colour actually suits the rifle really well. So yeah, well impressed, dead happy with it. Looks good. Trigger finger placement now is perfect on it, and very, very happy with this rifle. What I am going to do, I'm going to change this rifle back to 177 again this afternoon. Because, to be honest, for close-in work with the 2.5 caliber, my Lychee now was knocking them over left, right and centre close up. But I need something that's throwing it out with a nice flatter trajectory for those longer range shots that frankly the Lychee struggles with a bit, 40 yards, 50 yards. There's so much steep curvature on the 2.5 cal that it's a bit awkward to deal with. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the 177 caliber back in this, re-zero it in and use it for those longer range 40-50 yards, possibly out to 55 yards on a nice still day, because this thing off the bipod, 55 yards is no problem at all with it. It is banging out tight groups. And then I'm going to try and order some of the new JSB Hades 177 pellets if I can find anywhere that sells them. At the minute I'm using JSB Heavies with this, which gives superb results, but I want to try the Hades. I'm so impressed with them in 2.5 that I want to try those in the in a 177 if I can get my hands on them. But there you go. I think that looks rather nice, and more importantly, other than it just looking nice, it brings my trigger finger exactly to where I want it to go. So yeah, like that, impressed. Very, very nice. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. And like I say, I'll be changing this over to 177, so there will be some longer range target shooting coming up in the next few days, hopefully.